Hello there, Craig V here. I'm going to show you how to make an African coffee cap with a modern look and endless possibilities. My concept was inspired by traditional stylings and by a style made popular by rock drummer Neil Peart of Rush. I was looking to create some looks that reflected my personality and had a totally seamless look. Well, without any sewing required, there are no visible seams, which was good since my sewing machine is old and busted. Here's a basic black. A good looking cap alone, or makes for a groovy base to build upon if you want, with fabric paints, beads, and so forth. Here's a cap trimmed with a simple hemp cord design. Here's a heavily adorned cap with beads and hemp cord jewelry that I found on eBay. And this is one I wear often when performing with a more personalized fabric paint design. Here's a basic Indian type pattern fabric and a furled American flag design. And one that I just simply call Flower Power. The possibilities are virtually unlimited. Now, to complete this project successfully, you'll need scissors, a marking pencil, soft measuring tape, an iron, a straight edge, bonding tape, and a glue gun. Now, you'll first need to make your inner material selection. Here I'm going to use a thick black jersey material. It has some give and provides a very comfortable and sturdy base. Next, you'll need your outer material of choice. Here I'm using a North American Indian design. It's a typical cotton linen type fabric. And for the top, I strongly suggest a stretchable material. Either a mesh type material, or here I'm using a breathable cotton t-shirt type fabric. Really stretchy. I've already cut this to save time, but you'll want to measure your head size firmly, but not too tightly, just above the ear, and note the circumference measurement around your head. Cut the top in a circle pattern, about a ½ inch larger than the head diameter you'll be making the hat for. If you have very thick hair or a cone head, you might want to allow a little more margin than just a ½ inch. Now you'll need to cut the band material. For a 2-inch tall band, you'll want to cut 2 1/2 times the band. So I've cut both the inner and the outer material to 5½ inches. Cut the lengths to about 3 inches longer than your head measurement. I generally start out with about a 26-inch long cut. The next step is to fold the material and create the bands. I use a 2-inch template made out of thick cardboard to ensure even folds on both the inner and the outer materials. Starting with the inner material, lay down the template, line it up squarely, fold it over, and use the iron to press the fold out. Now remove the template and fold over the remaining single layer over the double material line and iron out the fold. Next, we'll repeat the folding process with the outer material, again using the template. Fold once, press it out, remove the template, then the second fold, and press. And we now have the two bands ready to go on to the next step. Now the next steps are the gluing and the assembly phase. We need to just secure the bands lengthwise, first by flipping over the first fold and laying a modest bead of glue down the entire length on the outer fold with a preheated glue gun. Now flip the fold back over and press out firmly with your iron. This helps in working the glue into the fabric, and flatten it out too. The glue is helpful down the road in keeping the band flat and stiff, yet still flexible without the use of any inner support material. Now in working with the outer material, which usually ends up being a thinner fabric, I'll use seam adhesive tape, usually 5/8 of an inch wide. Glue from a hot glue gun tends to seep through thinner fabrics and looks rather messy. Apply the tape per manufacturer's instructions. With the materials flat facing towards you, start by placing the tape 1 inch from the end on the right and iron the first side out. Let it cool. Remove the tape backing, then flip over the fold and press out with an iron. The tape also helps stiffen the band like the glue, without any inner support material. On thicker fabrics, you could go ahead and hot glue the fold like the inner band. Now you'll need to create the band's inseams. We'll make these 3/4 of an inch. First, glue the opened end shut with a light bead of hot glue, and then press it flat. Place the material down with the flat facing towards you. Fold back on the right end. Press with your iron to make a firm crease. And now we'll glue with a modest bead around the outer edges about 1/8 an inch from the ends, and lay a little thicker circular bead in the very center. The trick here to a clean end is pressing the glued flap from the outside edges inward. Then press firmly, working toward the center. Hold firmly while the glue cools just a little bit for about 20 or 30 seconds. And just repeat the same steps for the outer band. Now the next step, we complete the inner liner. The smooth side, without the material's end, will be the inside's exposed surface. Lay out the inner material's band with the seam end we just created on your right, with the fold line face down. Now take the head size you measured earlier and measure down the band, starting from the seam's end, and mark that length. Now what we'll do is bring the ends together, matching up the seam's end to the mark we just made. Place the seam on the mark, just enough to cover it. This will give the cap the snug fit we desire. We'll cut off the excess by either measuring the exact width of the seam or by measuring 3/4 of an inch past our head mark size. Now cut off the excess, and we're ready to attach the ends and complete the circle. We'll glue the ends just like we glued the seam's ends. First, glue the opened end and press firmly flat. Glue the ends together. Run a modest hot glue bead about 1/8 an inch from the outer edges, a slightly thicker bead in the center, and press outside inward, then hold and press for a few seconds. Let cool. Now flip the band inside out, and we now have the foundation for our cap. Next, we'll need to glue the top to the completed inner liner. For this, you'll need a flat surface to work on. I sculpt and I model, so I have a Lazy Susan around that I can use. That's great for this stage. It makes the process go faster, and it's a lot more accurate. If you don't have a Lazy Susan, use a separate surface like thick cardboard. Placed on a flat table, it'll spin around like a Lazy Susan and make the job a lot easier. Now lay the top material down flat and centered on the working surface. Now place the inner liner down on the top. Be sure the glued fold end is facing outward and the seam end is pointing to the left. Get it as equally centered on the top as possible. We'll be gluing the two pieces together starting with a 4-point cross pattern. Glue those sections in equal divisions, then glue up the remaining circumference areas until the entire top is glued to the inner liner. Start gluing at the rear seam, ergo the back of the cap. Place a modest blob of hot glue, then press firmly. Wet your finger if the glue is too hot for you. Push slightly downward so there's only about 1/8 of an inch of the top on the inner liner. You want the top loose, not tight, and we're going for a little to no wrinkles look. Let that dry a second or two, then spin it around 180 degrees to the opposite side and glue the top to the inner liner in the same manner. Now find the halfway point between each of those two glued points and do the same thing with a little blob and press to about 1/8 inch of the top glued to the inner liner. It should look something like this. Now we'll lay a line of hot glue in the remaining areas, pressing from the center points outward until we've evenly smoothed out that section. The end goal is looking like a bottle cap on a bottle. This will create a virtually wrinkleless look where the top meets the band. Next, the final step, attaching the outer finished material. Start with the inseam. Fold it back on the smooth external side of the band and glue like so on the inner liner of the rear seam. Start with a modest bead of glue around the edges about 1/8 inch and a slightly heavier bead in the middle, and press together working from the outside inward, like when we glued the seams. Press and hold firmly for a few seconds. Now let that cool for a few minutes. Make sure the outer band lines up evenly with the inner liner band. We'll end up back here like so. Now start the glue run by laying a bead starting at the lower end. Run it about 3 to 4 inches per shot so the glue stays good and sticky hot. Go down the length, back up about 1/8 inch from the edge, then back down the length. And finish up with a snake bead like so. Slightly pull the material and press together, again working from the outside inward. Smooth completely and pause to cool about 30 seconds. And repeat the cycle till you're 3 or 4 inches back around at the rear seam. When you reach the rear seam, fold back the overflat we created and cut the material off right at the seam's end. Glue the opened end with a thin bead. Press firmly. Now the final step. Continue as before and finish gluing the outer band. Careful not to get glue on the seam flap. Lay a final bead on the seam just as before, 1/8 inch from the edge and slightly thicker on the center. Press over, working again from the outside inward, and let it cool for about 30 seconds to a minute, and you're done.
And now you have a way cool coffee cap.